Hey, it's Jamie Moore here, episode 23 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. It's our European special. Very soon we're going to check in with the Shamrock Rovers, the Derry City and the Dundalk camps ahead of the Europa League first qualifying round. First leg qualifiers taking place on Thursday. But firstly, it's the matter of the Champions League qualifiers in Cork City, beaten 1-0 by Legia Warsaw in Turner's Cross in front of 7,000 fans on Tuesday night. That goal coming in the 78-minute. Quick free kick taken by Legia, about 30 yards out, and curled into the top corner beyond Peter Cherry, playing in place of Mark McNulty, who hurt his ankle playing for Cork against Shamrock Rovers on Monday. So to talk all things Europe, we're joined by Paul Corry, former Shamrock Rovers UCD and Sheffield Wednesday midfielder. You'll see him regularly on Soccer Republic and on his RT.ie column. Paul, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Jamie. Good to see you. Good to have a catch up.
Yes. Now, we were watching the World Cup semi-final on one TV and the Cork game on an iPad stream, and fair play to Cork City and the lads from Rebel Radio for having that stream. Didn't work great in the first half, it worked perfectly in the second half, and looked like Cork were going to get a great home draw and not conceding away goal until that free kick with about 12 minutes left.
Yeah, very unfortunate to graft out for that long, particularly against such a good side like Legia Warsaw. Would have seen them play against Dundalk in the Aviva about 2 years ago, and their ability to keep the ball and wear teams down. And you look at how far they've gone in European competitions in previous years, playing the likes of Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid. So very unlucky from Cork's point of view. Probably one of those situations where they've gone with periods, long sustained periods without the ball. And maybe there's a few tired minds in it, maybe lapse of concentration from a free kick. It was a great strike from 30 yards, but probably something that could have been prevented.
Yeah, Cork will be very disappointed the fact they've conceded from a set piece, because they've been quite strong in set pieces throughout John Caulfield's time there, and to defend so well, you would think if Legia played a brilliant move to beat you with a great goal, you'd say fine, but a quick free kick and a long range shot, they'll feel that they could have kept the clean sheet, which would have been a brilliant basis to go to Poland next week, and if they scored an away goal away next week, it would have given them a great basis.
Of course, it's a very uphill battle now for them, particularly after conceding an away goal. As you said, set pieces are a chance as a team to get organised and set up, and maybe they were looking at somebody who's 30-35 yards from goal not being a threat, but from the stream it was difficult to tell, and we didn't see a replay, but it looked like a really good strike. Difficult to know whether Peter Cherry might have been able to do or anything to prevent the goal, but John would be upset. As he said, you can hold your hand up and say fair play to the opposition if they carve you open with some nice build-up play, but conceding from a set piece when you would imagine Cork, with their discipline in previous years, might have been a bit more organised. It's disappointing to go down in that fashion.
Yeah, they go to Poland next week now, need to score, of course. If they do score, it makes things all square, and then it would be opportunity or advantage Cork, because they would have the rest of the match to score a second away goal. And I was certainly surprised that Kieran Sadler wasn't in the team. I think he's Cork's best player. I think, maybe they were going for a defensive approach in the home leg. They need to score, so surely he'll be in the team for the second leg next week, because they do need to get a goal now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure that Sadler's going to play from the beginning. I can understand John's reasoning in leaving him out, because he maybe wanted to be very conservative in his approach, restrict and frustrate Legia Warsaw. So I don't think things are going to change too much between the first leg and the second leg. I think the tactics and the game plan will be very much the same in terms of frustrating Legia and potentially nicking something on a counter-attack. So whether Sadler plays or not, I'm not too sure, but they've good experience in that squad with the likes of Delaney, the likes of Grove Morrissey, Carl Shepherd, who have all played a number of games in Europe. And then you have the energy of the likes of Barry McNamee, and hopefully Graham Cummins will be fit to start from the beginning of the game out in Poland.
Yeah, now you've gone from being a League of Ireland player playing in smaller stadiums in front of smaller crowds, in inverted commas. Of course, there were 7,000 in Turner's Cross, but the Cork City players now are going to go to Poland next week and play in a much bigger stadium in front of a much bigger crowd, maybe a crowd that some of them have never played in front of before. You made your Sheffield Wednesday debut, I think, against Leeds on a Friday night in front of maybe over 30,000 fans, and that's something that the Cork players are going to need to now go and try to deal with. The Polish fans are fantastic. What are they expecting going from smaller League of Ireland grounds to a much bigger European stadium now next week?
Yeah, it's important they play the game and not the occasion. Cork's experience of getting to FAI Cup finals will hopefully stand to them in regards to playing in the Aviva, which is a big pitch. They are difficult surroundings and it's a difficult atmosphere, but it's not anything that they haven't faced before. They've had European campaigns before, and yes, it may not have been in huge stadiums or against as good opposition, but it's all about experience, and it's not getting carried away with the occasion and playing the game and the opposition that are in front of you, as opposed to the fact that it's a Champions League qualifier. As I said, as long as they can stay in the game for 45, 60 minutes, and we'd all be hoping that be able to nick a goal and hopefully progress from there. It's obviously a massive task and a massive ask of any League of Ireland side to go over to the likes of Legia Warsaw and get a result. But we saw with Dundalk before, when they went 1-0 up through Robbie Benson, that they were able to cause them a few problems, and it looked like a difficult game for Legia tonight, so hopefully Cork can go over there and do themselves proud. Yeah,
that second out taking place next Wednesday in Poland, and Damien Delaney made his first Cork City appearance as well. Thought he might have started against Shamrock Rovers in the league game there on Friday, scoreless draw. He didn't, but he did start in that game, and his experience, as Paul mentioned there, could be key in that game. From Cork City, Paul, to the three teams in the Europa League qualifiers. Let's start with Dundalk first of all. Current League of Ireland top of the table. You watched them beat St. Pat's 3-1 on Friday. They're playing Levadia Tallinn from Estonia, currently third in the Estonian league. They recently won a cup game in the round 128, 12-0 against a club called SoccerNet. So they had their shooting boots on in that game. Their stadium holds 5,000. The first leg takes place in Estonia this Thursday, with the second leg in Dundalk next week. Won the league 9 times, most recently in 2014. They won the Estonian Cup and the Estonian Super Cup last season. They lost to Cork last season 6-4 in aggregate. So they have experience of playing Irish teams, but Dundalk are going into this game as favourites, which is something that's not always said about Irish teams in Europe, but they are going there in great form. 10 league wins in a row and hoping to score some away goals and secure their path to a home game and then hopefully the next round.
Yeah, if you're looking at any League of Ireland side of the four that are teed up for European fixtures this week, Dundalk are definitely the best equipped. If you're looking at the size of the squad, the strength of the squad, they look fit, they look lean, they've got momentum, they play a style of football that very much suits European football. We look typically League of Ireland sides going away and maybe having 30-40% of the possession and shutting up shop. Dundalk are very much the opposite. They like to take the game to the opposition. They keep the ball, they create chances, and they have the personnel. They've got a really nice mix and blend. They've got the likes of Gartland and Cleary at the back, who are very good at shutting up shop. They're also good at playing out from the back. They've got the protection of the likes of Chris Shields, but then they've got the flair of a Robbie Benson, a McGrath, a Duffy, a Connolly, and then bringing in the likes of Patrick McElhenney with his experience in Europe. They just seem as if they are the best equipped out of all the teams in the League of Ireland to go do something. And without getting carried away, we'd expect them to go through from that fixture. We saw what Tallinn were like last year against Cork, and they leaked goals. And with Dundalk and their flair and their ability to open up opposition, you'd imagine that they're going to go there and score and hopefully score at home as well. And with their defensive record, they haven't conceded too many this season. I think it's only 12. You'd like to put your money on Dundalk getting through to the next round and hopefully being the one out of the four that is going to progress.
Yeah, the one man Paul did mention there is Patrick Cuban, top scorer in the League of Ireland, 20 plus goals now on the score sheet. Of course, a couple of times in Richmond Park, you were behind that goal watching his 2 goals for Dundalk against Pats on Friday. If he can continue his league scoring form in Europe, they've got a great chance in this game. And, for a striker, confidence is so important. And, his confidence has been must be sky high. And I'm sure if he gets a chance, he'll be odds on to take one.
Yeah, I guess from Hubin's point of view, coming back from the UK, having not played too much, I actually played against him when he was at Oxford. Coming back, he fit into a Dundalk system and team that he's very familiar with. Playing up front for Dundalk, you're going to get ample opportunities. When you've got the likes of Robbie Benson, Jamie McGrath, Duffy, Connolly, whoever that might be playing in those positions, they always seem to feed him. And as the season, since the beginning of the season, I guess he's taken those opportunities, and there's just a sense of inevitability anytime he gets in and around the box that he's going to take these opportunities. And as you said, confidence is huge for strikers, and you can see at the moment that he's brimming with it. The goal against Pats was very clinical. The determination of the last goal, when it's the 94th, 95th minute to make the box, 60, 70, 80 yard run to get up and support Robbie Benson, to be there. It's that hunger and desire that he has, and he has that poacher's instinct, and he's obviously going to be huge for them because he scored so many of their goals. His form and his ability to not only hold up the play but also finish off their chances is going to be absolutely key for Dundalk in their progress.
Last one on Dundalk, the new American owner has done a couple of interviews since he's come in, and he did say their aim is to make the Champions League group stages, which is very optimistic. Of course, they made the Europa League group stage in 2016-17. Fantastic, run in Europe and journey in Europe. Paul, Stephen Kenny's done so well with Dundalk. He's clearly, I'm sure, heard the comments of his new chairman and you know, the person who's basically running the club on behalf of the American owners. But saying things like that probably won't... Will it add any extra pressure to Dundalk in Europe, given that it's the Europa League this year? If they win the league this year, they'll be back in the Champions League. But it's interesting comments, quite ambitious to say at the start of the European campaign.
Yeah, it's a project. I don't think anybody who's going to come in and add some investment to the league is going to be expecting instant results. You know, obviously from a neutral's point of view and being a fan of the league, we would absolutely love to have somebody, you know, bridge that gap and finally make a Champions League group stage. How quickly that's going to happen or how close we are to that, I'd say we're still quite a bit away from that. The league definitely needs investment, not only in facilities but also in players. You know, we saw how good a side Dundalk were when they got to the Europa League group stages. They were still a bit off the Champions League group stages. So, you know, the personnel that they would have had then, the likes of Richie Towell, Darragh Horgan, Andy Boyle, have they replaced them to the same quality? Probably not. So they're probably a small bit behind where they were even then. So listen, it's patience, and from the owner's point of view, it's patience, and it's laying the foundations now and then adding personnel, hopefully the likes of Patrick McElhenney, bringing them back in, even Hubin replacing Dave McMillan. Let's hope that come the end of the season that they're not losing these personnel and that they're adding more quality into the squad, increasing competition, and hopefully then progressing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
You're on episode 23 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. Jamie Moore here, sitting with Soccer Republic pundit Paul Corry, talking all things Europe. We've mentioned top of the table Cork City. We've mentioned second placed Dundalk, and we're now going to move to fourth place Shamrock Rovers, Paul's former club, of course. They're facing AIK from Sweden. The first leg taking place in Tallaght Stadium. A game will be at this Thursday, 7:05 kick-off. It's live on Air Sport on TV, so if you can try and get to Tallaght to watch the game, if not, you can see it on TV. Steve MacPhail, the Shamrock Rovers sporting director, was in Sweden on Saturday to watch AIK beat Trelleborg 4-1. That moves them to the top of the table. They're a point ahead after 13 games played, unbeaten in the league in Sweden this season. And Sebastian Larsson, of course, former player in the Premier League with Birmingham among others, he didn't play in that league game, as of course being in the World Cup of Sweden, so we're unsure if he's going to be involved in the game. They haven't made the group stage of the Europa League since 2012-13, but they have made the third qualifying round for the last 4 seasons, so they'll be coming into this game probably favourites. What's your thoughts on the task awaiting your former club starting at home on Thursday?
Yeah, it's not the easiest of draws, similar to Cork at Legia Warsaw. It's a very difficult draw. You know, you alluded to the fact that AIK are top of the Swedish league, have done well in previous campaigns, so it's definitely a difficult one. The loss of Graham Burke is probably going to be big as well. A player who is key and fundamental when it comes to these type of games in regards to keeping the ball. You also saw the goals that he scored in Europe. He was very important in terms of progressing through the first round last year. So it's an uphill battle. It's always difficult to know where we weigh up against these type of sides until we actually see the first leg and see how much we're able to compete, because how much we know about the Swedish league, it's difficult to I guess know what sort of quality we're facing. On the basis of the fact that they're top of the Swedish league and Shamrock Rovers have been very hit and miss this year, it's difficult to say that, you know, Shamrock Rovers have a good chance going through. I'd imagine it's probably similar to Cork in the sense that we're probably going to have to try frustrate AIK and you know, hang on in there at times and be sturdy and not concede, and hopefully then a bit of respite during the game and keep the ball for a bit, which Shamrock Rovers have proven they have done in previous games, that they've been able to match like Dundalk and Cork in terms of retaining possession. But how many goals there are in that Shamrock Rovers team, I'm not too sure. Loss of Graham will obviously be massive. Dan Carr works his socks off, but I'm not always sure he has the supply line that a Hubin or Cummins has. So scoring goals is going to be difficult, and you know, they haven't exactly been keeping a huge amount of clean sheets. But that said, you don't really know what you're going to get with Shamrock Rovers. They could produce 2 unbelievable displays and scrape through. So listen, whether it be Shamrock Rovers, Dundalk or Derry or Cork, our fingers crossed that, you know, these teams can, you know, put in good performances, do themselves, do the league proud.
You mentioned clean sheets. Rovers in recent times have actually kept 4 in a row. A 16-year-old, the name of Gavin Bazoon, who has kept all of those 4 clean sheets, including that penalty save from Kieran Sadler in Cork on Friday. Alan Manis had signed, having played for the club before and been in Scotland for a while, was on the bench against Cork. I really thought Stephen Bradley was going to put him in. He didn't. He left Bazunu in. He's kept 4 clean sheets in a row. He's won the Shamrock Rovers Player of the Month. Who's he going to pick in goal on Thursday? Because if he picks 16-year-old Gavin Bazunu, it'll be on form. But Alamanis is a senior goalkeeper. He has been brought into the club to be the number one, and it's an interesting selection decision for Stephen Bradley to make.
Yeah, from Stephen's point of view, maybe he's looking at Alamanis and not having played or trained in a while. Yes, he may have been in and around the squad training, but he won't have played competitive matches in quite a while. It's a brave decision from Stephen, and he's shown that bravery on a number of occasions, whether that be with Aaron Bolger, Brandon Kavanagh, and like you say, Gavin Bazunu. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Gavin's been excellent since he's gone in, 4 clean sheets, as you said. I would have seen him around the squad last year as a 15-year-old, and he's a really good character, and that's half the battle sometimes. He's a really good character. He's obviously got unbelievable quality, but his eagerness to learn, he's not got an ego. He just gets his head down, works hard, and he's done excellent since he's gone in there. What I was really impressed with last year was, yes, he was a great shot stopper, but his decision making in regards to, say, his distribution was excellent. Know when to go short, know when to go long, know when to sense danger. It was really impressive for someone of such a young age. So listen, we can't be loading pressure on a 16-year-old. He's going to make mistakes, and it's about learning from those mistakes and bouncing back from those mistakes. And in regards to having people around him, Alan Mannis is a great man to have in and around the club. Someone who's been away to Scotland, has played in Scotland, has bags of experience in regards to Europa League campaigns with Shamrock Rovers. Gavin should be using that, even if he comes out of the squad, to learn from somebody of that pedigree. Gavin's got a massive future ahead of him, but it's still such an early stage that the emphasis has to be on his development, and hopefully that will lead to a great career.
Who would you pick for the game on Thursday in goal?
I'd probably go Gavin based on form. I always feel, now I'm not a goalkeeper, nor have I ever been, it's very difficult to say whether they fit in like a regular starting 11 or a regular outfield player, I should say. Replicating games is a very hard thing to do. No matter how much training you do, it's very hard to replicate that game environment, that game pressure, and the decision making in training is often different than the decision making in a match. And I just think if Gavin's that much in the flow and he's playing with that much confidence and the back four familiar with him, why would you not stick with him? The communication between the lines of communication between a back four and a goalkeeper are huge, and if there seems to be good channels between the likes of Lee Grace, Joey O'Brien, Gavin, Roberto Lopez, whoever that may be, Stephen's maybe looking at that and saying, well, why would I change it?
Our final port of call in Europe is Dinamo Minsk, who are hosting the final club in action in Europe this week in Derry City. A 6-hour charter flight Derry have taken, or will take this week, and they're playing against a team second in the Belarusian league after 15 games. They're 4 points behind Bate Borisov, who of course have experience playing against Dundalk. They lost the league last year only on goal difference. They've scored 20 this season, conceded just 7 in 15 league games, knocked St. Pat's out 2 years ago. There's a big stadium for Derry to play in next week, that's a 17,000 seater, but for this week, it's a home game, it's in the Brandywell, and they're playing against a team who made the Europa League just a couple of years ago. They made a third qualifying round the last 2 seasons, and last year in Europe, Paul, Derry went in, and they lost 10-2 in aggregate to Midtjylland from Denmark. So Kenny Shields surely has been working on some defending this week, because they defend like they did in the first leg this year, as they did last year, concede some away goals. It's game over before it's even started.
Yeah, Derry are a bit of an unknown quantity. As a neutral, I absolutely love going to watch them because you're guaranteed goals. I saw them down in Dalymount recently, and they were 2-0 up, absolutely cruising, and then out of nowhere there was a flurry of chances for Bohemians. So they play such an open game. Sometimes you're scratching your head. You see the chances that they gifted last Friday against Limerick, some of the goals that they gave away against Shamrock Rovers and Tala, playing out from the back, and I'm the biggest advocate of playing out from the back, but sometimes, you're talking about Gavin Bazunu and the decisions he's made. Some of the decisions that they're making, from Jared Doherty to the back four, they just seem to be playing themselves into trouble. Conceded an outrageous amount of goals so far. And whether that be Shamrock Rovers, Cork, Dundalk, you cannot be conceding many goals in these two-legged affairs. Particularly when they're playing at home, they're probably going to have to keep a clean sheet or concede no more than one, because playing against a team with a pedigree of Dinamo Minsk, it's going to be an uphill battle. We haven't actually been blessed with the draws, so listen, I wouldn't envisage Derry going through, based on the fact that they seem to concede a lot of goals. But if you know, the likes of Aaron McAneff and the Hale brothers can chip in with similar performances to what they've already done this season, there's a chance that they could score goals. Hopefully there's a big turnout in the Brandywell. Fans get behind them, and hopefully they can carry something from the first leg that gives them a chance in the second leg. But you know, with Midtjylland last year and Dynamo Minsk this year, they haven't exactly been blessed with the look at the draw.
Derry have conceded 44 league goals, I've just seen here. The only two teams who've conceded more are Bray Wanderers, 61, and Limerick, 46, who are the two teams bottom and second bottom in the league. That's incredible when you think that Derry are fifth and playing in Europe. And like, they lost heavily to Shamrock Rovers in Tallinn a couple of months ago, lost 3 or 4 goals from playing out from the back. The other day they beat Limerick 2-1, yet Ger Doherty plays a pass out to a midfielder who plays a loose pass back, edge of the box, they lose it, and Limerick missed a chance. And I'm the same as you, love playing out from the back football, but at times they're doing it when it's simply just not on, and basically causing themselves huge problems, and then they're having to outscore teams because they're conceding such stupid goals. And if you do that in Europe, you're done.
Yeah, listen, the higher you go in football, the more you're going to get punished for your mistakes. You saw on the weekend, or last Friday I should say, Pat's trying to play out from the back, Lee Desmond gets caught in the ball and it's punished. You know, Conley picks up the ball, Duffy picks up the ball, slips in Hubin, and that was very much the changing, or the point that changed the game. Derry have been criminal at times, playing out from the back. You know, you've got to sense danger as a back four and a goalkeeper, and as a team, I guess, and knowing when to push everyone up the park and maybe go that bit longer from a goal kick. The ball that Ger Doherty, he actually strung it between two strikers. Barry Maguire ended up latching on to the loose pass, and they should have scored. And you know, you're looking at being in a winning position, 2-1 up. Why would you risk something like that? I don't understand it. Yes, if Limerick had sat back and there's maybe one centre forward chasing the back four, you play it from the back, but not when Limerick are pushed that high up the pitch. And as you said, if they're going to do that against the likes of a Dynamo Minsk, they're more than likely going to get punished. So maybe they won't be as open, maybe they won't be as expansive, maybe they're a bit more cagey and choose their moments a bit better, which is what you'd like to see them do in the league. But obviously going to have to tighten up the bolts at the back. Yeah,
we'll hear from Aaron McAneff in a minute, as well as Sean Gannon, and we're also going to hear from Stephen Bradley and Ronan Finn on League of Ireland in Europe. Paul, final 2 questions, one on the Premier League and one on the First Division, which you've played in both leagues a number of times. One game in the Premier League this weekend, it's Bray against Sligo, 7:45 at Dalymount Park. Massive game for both teams. Bray, of course, got a great point at the weekend in Waterford. Dinny Corcoran scoring with a header from a corner. And Sligo losing in Bray. We're going to speak to Paul O'Connor from Bray. So Bows come in on 25 points. Sligo are on 23 points. Limerick, the team in the 9th place, which is relegation promotion spot, on 21. So they're 2 behind Sligo, 4 behind Bows. A win for either team would really jump them possibly away from that. Interesting game given Sligo. The goalkeeping coach resigned. I believe a few of the fans tried to break into the dressing room and they lost to Bray, who hadn't trained all week, still haven't trained. Sligo are under pressure in this match, and as is the manager.
Yeah, listen, Sligo have big resources, and you know, they're a full-time squad. The fact that they're struggling, you know, and that far down the table, it's worrying times for them. The Bray fixture isn't an easy one. I know people are always expecting, when all the negative news is coming out of Bray and the fact that they haven't trained, it's nearly as if you're expected to win. And yes, we all expect them to win. They should have won. But when the defeat comes about, there's question marks, not only of the players but the management, and the fans obviously weren't happy. But you know, from Sligo's point of view, it's nearly just about, you know, getting a 2, 3, 4 more wins, pulling themselves away from Bray and Limerick, and starting fresh again next season. Because since Ger Little went in the middle of last season, things maybe were expected to change at the start of this season. Maybe the fans and us viewers haven't really seen that response. Recruited probably quite poorly. It just hasn't clicked, and I think Ger seems as if he's under pressure down there, and 2 or 3 more bad results and we could be seeing changes.
Now, the first division is our final thing that we're going to mention, Paul. You won it with UC in your first season in the League of Ireland a number of years ago when you were a young fella. Fixtures this weekend, it's Athlone against Cabinteely, Wexford against UCD, Finn Harps v Longford, Shells against Drogheda, a game I'm going to be at Togga Park, and Cove Ramblers against Galway United. Those are the games in the first division this weekend. And with the playoffs back, first are going up, second are the playoff against third or fourth, and when that all finishes off, it's going to be the team in the first division against the team ninth in the Premier League. UCD currently top, 39 points. Shells are second on 35. Drogheda and Finn Harps third and fourth on 34 each. Longford in fifth on 32. And Galway in sixth on 29. Cove in seventh on 24. There's lots of games left to play in this league. They've played 19. They're going to, of course, play 28 in total. It's incredible to think that it's going to go right to the wire. And to call a winner is tough. To call the playoffs even tougher. What's the keys to getting out of the first division for you?
Well, the key to any other league is win your games. UCD have obviously gone very strongly and have picked up a bit of momentum and are 4 clear. The loss of Georgie Kelly is going to be huge. A man who would have chipped in a lot of goals. I mean, they're such a young squad. The fear I have is that UCD, when it really gets to squeaky bum time, that they're going to slip up and they're going to, drop points. And the likes of Shelburne and Drogheda and Finn Harps probably have a bit more experience within the squad. I'd love to see UCD go back up again. I think they bring a lot to the league. I know people give out about the attendances and whatnot, but I guess what you are guaranteed is you're not going to have a Limerick situation, you're not going to have a Bray situation where there's trouble with finances. It's great exposure for the younger players at UCD, and as you've seen previously before, UCD provide some of the better players in the league, the people that I would have played with, the likes of Ronan Finn, Greg Bulger, Andy Boyle, Evan McMillan, Dave McMillan, Kieran Kilduff, all played in my squad, and that was a team that played and was exposed to a high standard in the Premier League. And I feel as if they can get back up, hopefully they can produce players and hang on to the players that they have. And I just think that's really important in terms of developing the next crop of talent. The likes of Shelburne, obviously with the new ownership going in there, it'd be massive for them. Probably weren't expecting to go up again this season, and probably saw it as more of a long-term project. But if they could skip a year or two and get back up to the Premier, that would be massive in terms of getting Shells, the product and the name back into the league, and hopefully drawing in new attendances with the new ownership, maybe bringing in some higher profile players than that they've had in the past. So they're probably the two I'd like to go up, along with Galway United. Galway have obviously had a change in management. The money from the Saudis has gone in.
Has it?
Well, it's due to go in, hopefully. But with that format, 2, 3, 4 wins in a row and people slipping up, losing games, it can just change so quickly. Personally, as I said, I'd love to see UCD and the likes of a Shelburne going up. But maybe for the spread of the country, it might be better if there was a Galway or Longford.
Yeah, Longford have done great as well, as have Drogheda United under Tim Clancy, his first job as a manager as well. They're currently in third and they're playing Shells, as we said, in Tolka this weekend. Can't wait to see that game as well. Lastly, Paul, unfortunately, you won't be playing for UCD in the Premier League next year if they do go up. You're a year or almost now past or into your retirement, unfortunately, after your knee injury, but you're loving life in the corporate world and being a media punter. Just tell us what you're up to and how you've been managing to kind of get on with the next part of your life as a worker as opposed to a footballer.
It's been difficult, I wouldn't lie by that. The transition was very, very difficult, and I think any footballer who goes through it will openly admit that it is a difficult transition. I've been very lucky. Enda McNulty was someone who I knew in the sporting world before I retired, and I knew a bit about the work that he did, so I went in working there. I've gone into sales. McNulty Performance and Wellbeing company, so we work with some big companies, the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Amazon, the likes of Facebook, Fitbit, Google, and then also in the sporting world as well. We work with the RFU. I've worked with Leinster Rugby. I've worked with 2 top 50 golfers of now recently, and which is where I come in, is taking that product and that model into professional football. So really eager and really keen to get over and working with a Premier League side. The likes of the English national team have done a lot of work in regards to performance management in terms of mindset, leadership, communication, psychology. They've done a lot of work from that. So it's something that is fundamental in the game. People train the body, they train the technique, they eat well, but often neglect the mind. And the way that we put it inside is you can't drive the car without the computer, and the computer is very much the mind. So I'm not a trained psychologist. I understand the importance of it, and I feel as if I had it during my career, it would have really helped me. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to driving that in with Enda and the team at McNulty Performance. So I feel as if there's a niche there. I feel as if we're really going to get after it, and we're gonna break the football world, because the work that Enda has done with the RFU has been incredible. You know, Six Nations, he was very much part of the culture that was built in Leinster rugby in terms of them, and you look at the European Cups that they've won and the players they've produced, it's been incredible. So that's going to hit football soon, and we want to be the ones that are really, you know, taking that opportunity and running with it. So listen, I've been fortunate in the sense that I've been able to keep that sporting element to my life in regards to work, in regards to the work that I do with RTE, and just bits and bobs, you know, the podcast with yourself. And, you know, football is something that's been ingrained in me since I was very, very young. It's ingrained in my family, and had I retired and just put it to the side, it probably would have made the transition even more difficult. So listen, there's not a day probably that goes by that I don't think about what would have been had I not had my knee injury. And, you know, I often dream about it, that I'm still playing, and going into League of Ireland games can be really, really difficult, and watching international games, watching the World Cup can be really difficult. But, you know, I can't sit around and think what if. You just got to kick on. You got to get on with life. And there's one thing that someone said to me that always stuck with me, and the only thing that you're guaranteed as a footballer is that you're going to retire. So, you know, I was lucky. I was in a position, I had a qualification, I'd surrounded myself with good people during my career, and I was in a good position. So if there's one bit of advice that I give to people, is to prepare for that day, because it's going to come at some point.
Paul, fascinating stuff. We could talk all night. Thanks very much. Best luck with the rest of your career, and we'll speak to you near the end of the season. Thank you.
Cheers, Jamie.